Okay, in the meantime, I think let us start with the introductions so that when they join us, at least that is out of the way, and then they will be able to start with their presentation. So for those who have just joined us, welcome. My name is Sibongile Ndashe. I am the director of the Initiative for Strategic Litigation in Africa, ISLA. This is the final session of a 2-week program that is hosted by 3 organizations who organized as the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, civil society organizations, side events. This is something that we have been doing for the better part of 8 years, which was started in Yamoussoukro, Ivory Coast. And the idea behind these convenings is really to create a space for leadership on various issues to emerge, and aware that civic space is shrinking or being shrunk all over the world, that it is important that whatever space we still have is utilized responsibly. And that what this means is that we are able to engage in effective and in meaningful advocacy that ensures state accountability, and that the mechanisms of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights are utilized effectively. We have been very happy that over the past 2 weeks, most of you have showed up over and over again. We had over 500 people participate. We had over 100 organizations. We've had over 20 events being hosted as part of this convening. So I am immensely happy because it proves to us that there is a recognition that there is a need for people who want to engage in sustained and effective mechanism advocacy at the African Commission. So we are more than pleased to have our new commissioners join us today, because as part of it, we want to be able to engage in this effective and meaningful advocacy. So the first thing to do that is to open lines of communication to introduce ourselves as civil society, but also to learn more about the new people who have been entrusted with this difficult job of maintaining oversight and holding states accountable for human rights violations on the continent. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to the moderator of the day, Professor Frans Viljoen, who is the director of the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria, to be able to lead us with this session and moderate the session today. Before I hand over, I'll just do a little bit of marketing. We have a number of channels where you could join us. We've got a mailing list if you want to be added, and so that you can get regular update about developments at the African Commission. So do not hesitate. We will write here on the chat on who to contact and do that. We also have got a WhatsApp group where we are able to keep each other updated about the various things that are happening in the Commission. So that's where I will stop with my marketing, and then over to you, Frans. Thank you.
Thank you, Sibongile, and thank you for...
Sorry, can I just interrupt you just to give you like some information about interpretation. You will find on, apologies, on the bar at the bottom, you will find an icon, interpretation. If you need interpretation, whether English or French, just select the language and click on mute original audio. Je vais le dire en français. Si vous avez besoin de l'interprétation simultanée, vous pouvez choisir l'icône d'interprétation au bas dans l'application Zoom. Vous sélectionnez la langue, anglais ou français, et vous devez quitter l'audio original. Merci. Thank you. Sorry. Yep, back to you, Frans. Thank you.
Good. And Stefano, we have, I think, so far, Commissioner Ndiamé here. Are all the commissioners, as far as we know, here, or just to know? Obviously, Commissioner Lumbu is here as well, and good afternoon. Good afternoon to our commissioners, good afternoon to our participants. Just to make sure which commissioners we have present at the moment. I see Commissioner Gaye Ndiamé, I see Commissioner Lumbu, I see Commissioner Abomo, Louise.
And we have Commissioner Mwandenga.
I see Commissioner Mwandenga and Commissioner.
And we have Commissioner Amesbury. Yeah, we have all of them.
Just connecting, great. So I think, thank you, dear participants, for your patience. We are so fortunate to have, as the closing event of the series of convenings, the presence of 4 of the new members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and also the Vice-Chairperson, Commissioner Lumbu. So what we propose to do is to ask a few questions, and you as participants, please, you are also invited. I will start the process of asking a few questions, but everyone present can send us questions through the chat box, the chat function, or questions and answers. And maybe, if possible, we'll call on people or we'll just read out your questions. Let me just say that the proceedings are being recorded, and we take it that everyone is okay with that. We're satisfied that that is in order, and that we could move on that basis. Great. So let me then start. After we've asked the questions, we will ask Commissioner Lumbu to conclude our proceedings for the day, and he will give us a wrap up after we have had the opportunity to engage with our 4 new commissioners. So I think the theme of the day is new brooms, and the English saying is new broom sweeps clean. And we really look forward also to hear the perspectives of our new commissioners from that perspective. We know that any institution always will benefit from the new perspectives and the contributions of new members. So from that perspective, we really look forward to hearing also a little bit more about your own views and your expectations for your work at the Commission. So let me start with the first question. And the first question is very general, just in a sense, a personal one, to get to know each of you, the 4 new commissioners. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. You know, what is it that is important to you as a human being, if you like, on a day-to-day basis? And if we could start, and I'm going alphabetically this time round, we will change the order. I'm starting with Commissioner Amesbury. If we could hear your response to that first. Thank you very much.
Amesbury, c'est Abomo qui commence, hein? C'est pas Amesbury, hein?
Abomo.
Okay, let us start with Commissioner Mwandenga, please, if I could hear your response to this first question, just something about your own.
Votre ordre alphabétique là, c'est lequel?
Frans, in alphabetical order.
No, I'm going to just jump around all time so that we don't have the same order all the time. So I will call on the different commissioners to just provide us with their views, if you don't mind, just to keep us going. So for the first round, then I'll just start with Commissioner Mwandenga, please.
Well, thank you very much. My full names are Mudford Zachariah Mwandenga. I'm the Zambian. Basically, I'm a lawyer. I trained at the University of Zambia, and I was admitted to the Zambian bar in 1982. And from 1982 to date, I've been practicing law in various fields, more importantly, I started off with the legal aid department where I was dealing with matters in my formative years as a lawyer, litigation, civil, as well as criminal. Then I transitioned from legal aid and went into local government. Local government, did a little bit of local government law. Then later on, I went into the building society where I did building society law. And then subsequently, I was involved in the privatization of state-owned enterprises in the country and assisted in setting up the Zambia Privatization Agency. And whilst I was working at the Zambia Privatization Agency, I transitioned to, I formed my own private law firm. And I started operations side by side whilst I was still working in full-time employment. And I've been dealing with a lot of issues that relate to employment and labor-related matters. And after I left formal employment, I concentrated on my law firm, and that's where I'm operating as MZ Mwandenga in the company, which generally provides legal services, litigation, civil litigation. And I'm quite interested in issues that relate to the rights of individuals, again, particularly skewed towards labor-related issues. And well, aside from that, there are also other issues that I deal with. I am a member of the Lions International, and I take a keen interest in dealing with issues that affect human beings. And even in the law practice that I've been doing, basically I've been interested in assisting individuals, particularly individuals that are poverty-stricken to afford the services of private practitioners. Because I came to realize, I think from my experience when I was at the legal aid department, that quite a number of individuals have a lot of legal issues which they would wish to take up, but because of resource constraints, they are incapable of taking up those particular cases. And more so, when it comes to issues that touch on human rights, you find that because of the resource constraints that most of the people that are affected by human rights violations, they find it difficult to approach private lawyers. And then you see in our country, I don't know what happens elsewhere in Africa, but what happens is that the practice of human rights law per se is not a lucrative business for a lot of private lawyers. So you find that a lot of lawyers shun to take up those particular cases, particularly because of the fact that maybe the people that they are dealing with are basically individuals that don't have the money, the people that will not have the resilience to take up a matter against the state. That's where my interest really comes in, because as far as I'm concerned, I get annoyed, so to speak, at the fact that people get their rights violated, but because of the system that we have, it's such that they cannot access the services of the lawyer, let alone the services which are provided by the courts. And then to make matters worse, if you're really talking about enforcing civil rights, the processes itself that are involved in litigation are quite technical for an ordinary person. So they require the services of lawyers, but most lawyers, because of the little money that comes out of this type of litigation, they are not very keen on assisting the particular individuals who are affected by a lot of these human rights violations. So that really motivates me to take up quite a number of these issues on a pro bono basis, and I've dealt with them quite well. I would say that the fact that individuals whose rights are violated do not have that access to redress is a thing that really motivates me.
Great.
What
Thank you
about, as I
very much.
finish, maybe then I should also mention the fact that I'm also the chairperson of the Zambia Human Rights Commission. I'm now in my second term, and as part of that, I'm also a member of the steering committee of NANRI, and I'm also in the second term in that particular sphere. So briefly, that is what I would say for the time being.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Mwandenga. I think that we get an image of someone who's really concerned about access to justice, and that is certainly very gratifying to note, and we welcome you. We read in the chat box, there are many people who say welcome, congratulations to the new commissioners, and wish them fruitful mandates. May I
Thank you very much.
ask Commissioner Marie-Louise Abomo if she could explain to us also just briefly, who she is, her professional background and human rights interest. Please, Commissioner Abomo.
Je vous remercie de me passer la parole. Je m'appelle Marie-Louise Abomo, je suis magistrat hors hiérarchie premier groupe. Je suis docteur en droit privé de l'Université des sciences sociales de Toulouse 1. Je suis depuis 2015 président de la section pénale de la Cour suprême du Cameroun. Mais avant d'aller plus loin, comme je suis arrivée en retard, je voudrais que vous éclairiez ma lanterne sur un certain nombre de préalables. Peut-être que vous vous êtes présenté à mes collègues avant moi, mais moi, je ne sais pas qui vous êtes exactement. Je ne sais pas dans quel cadre nous évoluons, parce que j'ai cru entendre que c'était une invitation, mais là, c'est un peu comme si on était devant un jury. Alors, je voudrais savoir cette rencontre, quel est le fondement juridique? Est-ce que elle est fondée sur une disposition de la charte ou alors il s'agit d'un accord que vous avez avec la commission? Je voudrais savoir, je voudrais qu'on plante le décor, le contexte juridique pour que je sache à qui j'ai affaire. Parce que vous me demandez de me présenter, moi je ne sais pas qui vous êtes. Donc, je souhaite que j'ai ces informations-là pour savoir exactement à qui j'ai affaire. Merci.
Thank you very much. I think any of the other organizers can also come in here, but we apologize. I think we actually had a bit of an introduction before you were able to join us. So we sincerely apologize for not introducing ourselves properly. My name personally is Frans Viljoen. I am from the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria. And our interest here is that I think most of us are NGOs. For example, the center is an NGO with observer status. We have since many years had observer status with the African Commission. And usually before these sessions of the Commission, there would be side events. So NGOs would come together, civil society groups, and they would consider aspects of the Commission's mandate. Sometimes commissioners will join and discuss. So this is the kind of relationship that we try to cultivate with the Commission, because I think the Commission often remarks that its work is difficult to do because there are only 11 commissioners. In part, NGOs are somehow partners that also try to advance the cause of realizing the African Charter at the domestic level. So in that framework, it is just our initiative to try to get to know the new commissioners with whom we as civil society organizations would potentially be working together. So it is really just a friendly effort to get to know, if you like, the commissioners who are going to be working with us, we hope, in the next maybe 5-6 years that your term may be. But we are together, 4 NGOs that have put this together, this event, and Sibongile and Dashe is from the Initiative for Strategic Litigation in Africa, and maybe she can also just say a few words in response to your query, Commissioner Abomo.
Est-ce que je peux compléter pour parler à mes collègues? Si vous regardez l'article 45C de la charte des missions, les compétences de la commission a également pour mission de coopérer avec les institutions africaines ou internationales qui s'intéressent à la promotion et à la protection des droits de l'homme et des peuples. Auprès de la commission, nous avons des ONG qui ont le statut d'observateur. Nous avons les INDH avec lesquels, comme a dit le professeur Frans Viljoen, nous collaborons dans le cadre de la promotion et de la protection des droits de l'homme, la commission étant incapable de devoir avoir les yeux et les oreilles partout à travers l'Afrique. Le Centre de droits de l'homme de l'Université de Pretoria est l'une de ces structures qui a le statut d'observateur bien connu à la commission et collabore avec tous les mandats, tous les mécanismes spéciaux. Vous avez aussi d'autres ONG qui font partie de la rencontre d'aujourd'hui. Vous avez Synergia, qui est bien connu, qui a le statut d'observateur auprès de la commission, et également ACHPR, qui fait également partie des ONG avec qui nous avons un partenariat. Et je voudrais rassurer les collègues que toutes ces ONG, toutes ces informations sont disponibles à notre secrétariat et ils peuvent le partager avec mes amis, mes collègues commissaires. Et je crois que sans parler au nom des collègues et des organisateurs, le but de cette rencontre, c'est vrai que ça donne un peu l'impression que, comme dit la commissaire Marie-Louise Abomo, d'un interrogatoire, mais je crois que le but, c'est comme a dit le prof Frans Viljoen, c'est juste une prise de connaissance parce qu'il s'agit des structures de la société civile africaine avec lesquelles nous allons, pour moi qui ai encore 3 années pour mon premier mandat et vous qui avez 6 ans, ce sont des structures avec lesquelles vous allez interagir énormément. Surtout le Centre des droits de l'homme de l'Université de Pretoria, elle est omniprésente. Beaucoup de documentations que vous trouverez à la commission sont faites en collaboration avec le Centre des droits de l'homme de l'Université de Pretoria. Je voulais à mon tour apporter cette clarification pour que le collègue se sente tout à fait à l'aise parce que nous sommes dans une structure autorisée dans une plateforme autorisée par l'article 45 de la Charte africaine qui nous demande de collaborer avec les ONG, les INDH et tous les partenaires qui ont le statut d'observateur auprès de la commission. Voilà la petite précision que je voulais apporter et je m'excuse de prendre la parole à ce stade parce que je devais intervenir à la fin. Merci beaucoup.
Je crois que j'avais encore la parole. Je vous remercie de ces informations. C'est vrai que je ne veux pas polémiquer avec Monsieur le vice-président, mais l'article 45 alinéa 1 petit 3 ne donne pas la forme de l'opération, surtout cette forme-ci. Je m'attendais à ce qu'on me présente un accord écrit avec la commission, mais qu'à cela ne tienne. Vous me demandez qui je suis, je vous ai dit qui je suis. Je ne sais pas si vous voulez que j'ajoute quelque chose parce que vous m'avez dit d'être bref. Alors, est-ce qu'il y a un élément que vous voulez que j'ajoute ou alors cette présentation est suffisante?
No, I think it's perfectly fine. Thank you so much for introducing yourself to us. We're very happy to hear your background. Let me go to Commissioner Alexia Amesbury to also just tell us a little bit about your personal and professional background, please.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, all panelists. The name is Alexia, and you pronounce the Amesbury very well. Now, I grew up in an orphanage, and I believe that although I'm from an orphanage, I could make a difference as a woman. I have 6 children. I went to university when I was age 37. After I have raised 5 of my 6 children. As luck would have it, in my final year during my law degree, I fell pregnant again. And I had 6 children. And I went to do a master's in international law, human rights law at the London School of Economics and Political Science. My passion has always been human rights because based on my experience growing up as a child, I've felt and I continue to feel that people need to be represented, especially when their rights are being violated. I'm passionate about human rights. I specialized in human rights. And when they created a commission for human rights in the Seychelles, I really thought that that job had been made for me. But unfortunately, when the law came out, I was excluded because I'd taken active part in politics. And I was excluded from being a member or being the chairperson of that human rights. Didn't matter that the politics was 5 years old. So I challenged that law. I challenged the president of the Seychelles, which is the country from which I emanate. And I won, but I did not benefit from the winning because I'd already moved on. By the time that I got the judgment from the Court of Appeal, other people would benefit from the time, the limitation. They couldn't, because that law said you couldn't be a part of the commission if you had been in politics for about a year. So that was reduced to no time at all. You could leave politics tomorrow and become a commissioner for human rights the next day. The time limit of 1 year was removed. I didn't benefit from that because my anger, my frustration, I decided I'm not going to apply for anything else. And then the opportunity came up to be a commissioner on the African Commission. And now I realize that there was a plan for me, although I didn't know it. So I practice law, I do criminal law, but my specialty is constitutional law, especially the enforcement of our fundamental rights. In fact, I felt so strongly about the fact that people in Seychelles did not know their fundamental rights because the Constitution is in English. So I took the step of translating it into Creole, the fundamental rights in Creole for the Seychellois people. And most of this little booklet I gave to the police officers, I gave to the prison officers, and I distributed to students in secondary schools so they will know their rights. I practice criminal law, yes, and 90% of my practice is legal aid and pro bono because most people cannot afford the price of justice. And if you really believe that a person is entitled to justice, then you will do the best that you can. If you get paid by legal aid, it's good. But if the person cannot pay you, it's pro bono. For me, the satisfaction comes from making the person realize he's right or get that which he seeks under the law. That's all I can say about myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that's something that the Commission often emphasizes and also expect our NGOs sometimes to assist with dissemination, translation. So it's really wonderful to see you having taken the initiative long ago to put the Constitution of Seychelles in Creole. Very welcome and thanks for sharing that with us. If we may move to Commissioner Gaye Ndiamé, and we ask, sir, the same question to you, just to provide us with a bit of a personal and professional background of yourself.
Merci. Je crois que vous m'entendez bien. Je vous salue tous. Le prénom c'est Ndiamé, le nom c'est Gaye. Je suis magistrat de profession au magistrat depuis 23 ans. Donc, j'ai occupé plusieurs fonctions judiciaires au niveau de mon pays, le Sénégal. J'ai dirigé des juridictions régionales, Ziguinchor, Thiès, Dakar. Voilà le parcours judiciaire. Maintenant, en ce qui concerne les droits de l'homme, très jeune, vers les années 2000, j'ai eu à bénéficier d'une formation au niveau de Strasbourg, à l'Institut René Cassin. Et quand je suis rentré au pays, j'ai collaboré avec notre institution nationale des droits de l'homme, le Comité sénégal des droits de l'homme, où j'ai été secrétaire général pendant des années. J'ai cohabité avec le président de la Commission nationale, qui a été lui-même ancien président de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme, le président Youssouf Ndiaye. J'ai également collaboré avec l'ancien feu juge Kebambe. Donc, j'ai eu la passion des droits de l'homme et progressivement, j'ai occupé des fonctions administratives et j'ai été le premier directeur des droits humains du Sénégal au niveau du ministère de la Justice. Donc, j'ai eu à piloter les dossiers du Sénégal, aussi bien au niveau du Comité des droits de l'homme de Genève qu'au niveau de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme, notamment la présentation des rapports périodiques, mais également la défense à des communications plaintes. Donc, j'ai fait ce travail presque pendant 10 ans. Donc voilà le parcours judiciaire droit de l'homme. Et quand le poste de la candidature a été officiellement lancée, la candidature pour être commissaire, naturellement, les autorités de mon pays m'ont demandé de me présenter. C'est ainsi que j'ai été élu au mois de février comme commissaire aux droits de l'homme. Bon, j'ai été plutôt, pendant longtemps, un technicien des droits de l'homme. Bon, du côté étatique, naturellement. Voilà mon parcours, brièvement. Si vous avez d'autres précisions à demander.
Thank you so much to share with us your long and very intense, I think, engagement with human rights. We certainly look forward to also work with you on this commission in various ways. With your permission, will go for a second round, a brief question. As civil society, we are also, engaged with trying to promote the visibility of the African Commission, but I think we all understand that the Commission is is often not as widely known as perhaps ideally it should be. So we were just wondering, for you personally, each of you will go around asking you this question: how much did you know of the Commission before you now became a commissioner yourself? And did you have any opportunity to engage with the Commission? And what was actually your own impression as an outsider from the Commission about the Commission itself, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights? So if you permit, we will use the same sequence, and I will go to Commissioner Mwandenga first for answering briefly that question. Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I think you started off nicely by saying the Commission is not very well known. And I must confess that I also knew very little about the human rights, the Commission itself. But it was limited to the fact that we had the chairperson of the Zambia Human Rights Commission, who is now a judge of the Supreme Court in Zambia, who was, I think, a member of the African Commission, who rose up to the point of being, I think, the vice chair at a certain point in time. He only relinquished that particular position at the time when I think he was appointed as Attorney General in the Republic of Zambia. To that extent, I mean, I used to hear about the African Commission on people's and the human rights, but and then I had occasion to once in a while have a look at the African Charter, to have a look at the provisions, especially when it comes to rights. Because then I remember at one point in time, in the course of representing one of my clients, in my enthusiasm to bring out certain issues in terms of labor relations, I touched on the African Charter, and my opposing counsel on the other side was quick to point out that the right I was trying to cling on was not justiciable in Zambia because it hadn't yet been domesticated and stuff like that. But quite frankly, there was very little information that I knew about it. And apart from that, that is what I would say at the moment.
Thank you.
And I would say it's an issue which, like you have pointed out, well, even I think even in the country itself, it's not a very big subject. Not many people know about it. You can even imagine, even at the time when I was appointed as commissioner, there was even the report that came out was that I was appointed as a commissioner, as a judge, a part-time judge on the Human Rights Court. So that's how far the misinformation was, and that's a story which came out in papers that I was appointed as such. And it was only later on when I received the actual communication from the African Commission, that's when I realized that actually it wasn't the courts where I was appointed to, but the commission. And the misinformation was coming from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You can imagine how the level of ignorance is.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, I think some of us will recall Commissioner Mumba Malila, I think whom you referred to, who is now the justice on your court as a member of the commission. So thank you for sharing that with us. I think we take the same sequence and we go to Commissioner Marie-Louise Abomo for any reflections from her side, from your side, please.
Merci de me repasser la parole. J'ai été jusqu'à mon élection comme commissaire à la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme, le point focal de la Cour suprême sur l'élaboration des différents rapports de l'État du Cameroun sur l'état des droits de l'homme. Je suis aussi le point focal sur les droits humains et le VIH à la Cour suprême. Avant que je n'arrive à la Cour suprême, j'ai été juge des mineurs, et ça m'a donné la possibilité d'avoir des réflexions sur les droits des enfants et même sur les droits de la femme, sur les droits des personnes vivant avec le VIH. J'ai fait des articles là-dessus. Et maintenant, s'agissant de ma désignation, c'est ma hiérarchie qui m'a présentée. Et puis, mon pays a fait campagne. Et puis, les États africains m'ont élu à Addis Abeba et je suis devenue commissaire. Merci.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Abomo. Commissioner Amesbury, if you would also like to speak about your awareness of the Commission before you joined as a member. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much once again. I remember taking a case to the Human Rights Committee in Geneva against Seychelles, the first of its kind and the only one of its kind for violation of human rights. And whilst I was doing the reading in regards to the remedy that my client could have, I came across readings on the commission. But by this time, I'd already submitted the case to the Human Rights Committee in Geneva. It wasn't well known, but today I know about it, and I knew about it when I was studying on my master's for human rights, because two of the instruments that we studied was the ICCPR, the International on Civil and Political Rights, and on civil and on economic rights. And then I did come across the African Charter of Human and People's Rights. So I knew about it, but I didn't really, like the other commissioner said, I didn't really know how it functions. I didn't really know that we could take cases that as much as I do now. But now that I have known, already there are a few people queuing up to take their first cases to the Human Rights Commission, because they know that the commission now exists, and they are very keen to go to the commission with their complaint against Seychelles for a violation of human rights. But not only that, for the first time too, there's been a Seychellois judge appointed to the Court of Human Rights in Africa. So there is a little bit of knowledge, but by the time I'm done with the commission, there'll be a lot more knowledge about the commission and what it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's very encouraging. We look forward to you disseminating the word in Seychelles. So you are the first Seychellian member of the African Commission?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am the first. And it came out, if you were to ask me how I am where I am today, I couldn't even say how I got there, because I remember 2 days before the closing date, I got a mail in my inbox and said, Alexia applied, there's a vacancy. Nobody in Seychelles has ever applied. And I did, blindly so. Little did I know that I was going to be successful. After I'd been appointed, then my president informed me, despite the fact that I challenged him before in court, he still called me to congratulate me and told me that Seychelles had actually supported my nomination at the meeting where I was appointed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's wonderful. And then Commissioner Gaye, the same question to you. I think that perhaps you had better knowledge of the African Commission since you were so immersed in human rights, but you can tell us more about your prior knowledge and impressions of the African Commission, please.
Oui, c'est vrai que moi j'avais une expérience de la commission. Comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, j'étais entre guillemets l'avocat de mon État. Donc j'étais obligé de maîtriser le règlement intérieur, les procédures de travail et les mécanismes pour les besoins que vous pouvez deviner. En tant que membre de la délégation gouvernementale du Sénégal pendant des années devant la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme. Donc, je connaissais la Commission, je connaissais des commissaires, j'avais des contacts privilégiés avec quelques commissaires. Mais je dois avouer qu'en Afrique de l'Ouest, moi je viens de l'Ouest, l'Afrique de l'Ouest regroupe le plus la majorité presque des États africains, hein, parce que nous sommes à peu près plus de 6 États pour un seul représentant. Depuis la création, de plus en plus, nos États se tournent vers ces cours. De plus en plus, la Commission africaine est négligée. Et je crois que ça sera une très bonne chose de mener une campagne à ce niveau, pour faire comprendre donc, à nos États de l'Afrique de l'Ouest qu'au-delà des questions de contentieux, la Cour a d'importantes prérogatives en matière de promotion et de protection des droits humains. Mais pour répondre à votre question, j'avoue que je connaissais bien la Commission, j'ai collaboré pendant longtemps avec la Commission, mais en tant que parti étatique. En tant que parti étatique, donc, je connaissais bien la Commission. Merci.
Thank you very much. Now perhaps we can move to your present position within the Commission, and we could just ask each of you which particular special rapporteurship you can just share with us, the special rapporteurship that has been assigned to you, and what you think the priorities or the particular issues are that you would like to address in that special rapporteurship that has been assigned to you. If you don't mind, I think we follow the same sequence. Commissioner Mwandenga.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I've been assigned to be the chairperson of the working group on economic and social and cultural rights. And that's where I'm the chairperson. Then I'm also the deputy chairperson of the working group on extractive industries, environment, and human rights violations. And I'm also a member of the working group on the HIV committee. There I'm just an ordinary member. And I wish to say that, well, in terms of I'll firstly concentrate on the one that I've been charged to be responsible for. That is the working group on economic and the social and cultural rights. First and foremost, what I've been trying to do is try to get grips with what the working group is all about. I've been doing some extensive readings about its activities and relating to its mandate, and I've come to discover that there are quite a number of issues that have been dealt with in the past. So it's the number one issue that is on my mind is how to come to terms with the vast work that has been done in the past. And I believe they've done a commendable job together with the experts who have been assisting the committee. My intention is to continue where Commissioner King left, and then continue as we proceed to deal with the issues of which relates to the working group. I do note that there has been some guidelines which have been prepared, which I think are in force right now. My intention also is to get to grips with what those are, and also to try and see how we can popularize them on the African continent. Because I think the guidelines from my initial reading are quite comprehensive on how the economic and social and cultural rights can be implemented in Africa. But I think not much information has gone out to the continent as to how these rights have to be implemented. Of course, then we have to also
et qui ont été mises en œuvre. Nous devons aussi
revise the reporting lines for state reporting, so that at least we straighten up those. And basically, I think that is what I'm looking at. Of course, then I also have to get into a situation where we must meet with the members. We are trying at the moment to try and schedule a meeting so that we meet with the expert members as well as the members within the commission. But for the time being, I think the problem has been how to schedule. It seems we're having difficulties in trying to find a time. And then once we meet with the experts, who I believe have been doing a very good job, and we should be able to tap into their knowledge so that we move the process forward. And one of the critical issues which, like I've always been looking at, relates to issues that touch on labor rights. I'm very passionate about labor rights, and more so that, especially with the way things are now going, there are a lot of human rights violations which pertain to labor-related issues. And like I said, it's the enforcement of those rights which I think most of the workers that are affected by most of these violations are having difficulties ensuring that their cases are taken up. But again, it also requires that maybe there should be some extensive program campaign so as to popularize those principles and guidelines which have been developed thus far. That is my major priority.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for, I think also that's a very interesting point about the labor rights, which I think have not yet featured very significantly in the ambit of the Commission's work. So we wish you all the best for that portfolio. We pose the same question to Commissioner Abomo, also just to tell us briefly about the special rapporteur, special mechanisms that you have been designated to, and what you think the priorities or the issues will be that will arise in that context, please.
Merci de me passer la parole. Je suis premièrement présidente du groupe de travail sur les droits des personnes âgées et les personnes handicapées. Et j'en profite pour répondre à une question qui m'est adressée là. Justement, hier, c'était la 30e édition de la célébration de la Journée internationale des personnes âgées. Le groupe de travail que je préside en a profité pour émettre une déclaration se focalisant sur la nécessité, l'appel aux États africains de ratifier les protocoles, le protocole sur les personnes âgées, protocole relatif à la charte africaine. Et bon, quand ce sera la journée des personnes handicapées, on fera la même chose parce que effectivement, en Afrique, la personne âgée a une place particulière. C'est la mémoire de l'Afrique, c'est l'ancien, c'est le sage. Il faudrait donc que cette place particulière soit implémentée de manière, enfin, sur la base d'une législation appropriée. Donc, j'en ai profité et j'en profite aussi là pour dire aux ONG qui m'écoutent qu'elles fassent lobbying pour que ces protocoles puissent être ratifiés par les États africains, parce que depuis qu'ils sont entrés en vigueur, notamment le protocole sur les personnes âgées, 17 États seulement l'ont signé et 2 seulement l'ont ratifié. Donc, en ce qui concerne le groupe de travail sur les personnes âgées, les personnes handicapées, la priorité, c'est la ratification de ces 2 protocoles-là. Ensuite, je suis membre présidente, nouvelle présidente du groupe de travail sur les questions spécifiques internes de la Cour, de la Commission, autant pour moi. Nous nous sommes penchés sur l'élaboration du plan stratégique de la Commission pour la période 2021-2025. Il est en cours d'ailleurs et un questionnaire a été mis en ligne pour que les partenaires de la Commission puissent apporter leur contribution. Et je rappelle que vous avez 10 jours pour cela. Et j'espère que le 12 octobre, nous aurons eu toutes vos réponses et vos contributions très constructives pour qu'on ait un plan qui permette vraiment à la Commission de faire preuve d'une meilleure visibilité et d'une plus grande efficience. En ce qui concerne ce groupe, il me semble que la priorité, c'est que la Commission se dote d'un personnel de qualité en nombre et en quantité. Parce que la masse de travail, le volume de travail n'est pas proportionnel au nombre de personnel qui évolue au sein de la commission. Je suis également membre du groupe de travail sur les communications. Et là, justement, nous sortons de la première journée de la session extraordinaire de la commission focalisée sur les communications. Il me semble que la question, là, c'est la rationalisation des procédures pour une plus grande efficacité. Je vais m'arrêter là. Vous savez, je n'ai pas l'habitude d'être très prolixe. Je vais toujours à l'essentiel. Donc, si vous avez d'autres questions à me poser, je me ferai un plaisir de vous répondre. Merci.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for sharing that. I think many NGOs who work in the field of the rights of persons with disabilities and older persons' rights are very excited and look forward to working with you. I think we all have noted that, you know, those two protocols require 15 ratifications for their entry into force. And it has taken quite some time, and there's only 2, as you said, for the older persons protocol. So we certainly would like to pledge our support collectively, and some NGOs in the chat box also indicated that. May I move to the next person, Commissioner Amesbury, also for your response about the special mechanisms designated to you, please.
I am the chairperson of the Working Group on Indigenous Populations, Communities and Minorities in Africa. At first, I thought it was not interesting enough. I have now changed my mind because I have realized that there are groups of Indigenous people in Africa, but I'm more aware of Indigenous groups in Kenya because I grew up in Kenya, amongst the countries in which I grew up. And therefore, I need to be there to ensure that they have a right to dignity, that they have a right to protection against domination by the larger groups. They have a right to their culture, but more importantly, their rights to their ancestral lands from which they are constantly being driven away. They have a right to their culture. They have a right to their religious ceremonies and things like that. But more importantly for me, I feel, and I'm happy that there are NGOs present tonight. Maybe I can make my plea directly to the NGOs present. In the little bit of readings that I've managed to do, I've found out that the Indigenous peoples do not have a place, or there is no structure in place for them to be given a most basic document that all of us take for granted, and that is a birth certificate. They do not have birth certificates, and without a birth certificate, that's the most basic of human rights, because then you get recognition in your country. Maybe you can get a passport, maybe you can travel, maybe you can study. We have no records, no written records of Indigenous populations in Africa. And for me, one of the things that's on my mind, there was the judgment against Kenya for the Ogiek peoples, and Kenya has still not done anything about the judgment in regards to the rights of the Ogiek Indigenous community. So these are some of the challenges. And of course, with COVID, I cannot go anywhere. I cannot visit the countries. I cannot do anything. I'm stuck. And the people I'd like to get in touch with, they do not have the means. They do not have virtual anything. They do not have computers. They do not have telephones. They can barely read or write, most of them, because the state parties in which the communities exist have marginalized them. And this is a big challenge, to make sure that they are seen, they are heard, because a voiceless people is invisible. So this is one of the challenges. There are lots of things that I could say, but this is not the time. The other mechanism is rights of people living with HIV/AIDS and those at risk, vulnerable, affected by HIV. Again, I thought HIV is not a pandemic anymore. It's been reduced. People are now, they're getting treatment for it. But then there are still a lot of women. They are children. They are pregnant, or especially now in COVID. Are they getting the treatment, or are the treatments being diverted to provide maybe food and other basic necessities, and they're not getting the treatment that they need to get for AIDS? And what about AIDS in prisons? What about mothers giving birth, mothers who are HIV positive and they give births? What steps can we take to protect the children? So these are some of the challenges. And again, there's lots to be said. I'm happy I'm speaking directly to the panelists. Hear me, help me to make my mechanism a success. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm sure your call will not go unheard, and it will be acted upon. So lastly, I think we go to Commissioner Gaye, also with the same question, please, Ndiamé.
Je vous remercie. Je dois avouer que ma première surprise quand je suis arrivé à la commission, c'est véritablement à la charge de travail. Parce que j'ai pu constater que les chantiers sont énormes. Et le travail de commissaire demande beaucoup de disponibilité et de sacrifice. Pour ma part, on m'a confié de présider le groupe de travail sur la peine de mort, les exécutions extrajudiciaires ou sommaires et les disparitions forcées. Donc, je viens de prendre la présidence de ce groupe. L'ancien président avait déjà fait beaucoup par rapport à la peine de mort et que même la commission avait réussi à faire un projet de protocole visant à abolir la peine de mort en Afrique. Mais malheureusement, ce projet est toujours bloqué au niveau des instances de l'Union africaine. Et je crois qu'il faut faire quelque chose pour faire avancer ce dossier. Parce que beaucoup de réunions ont été faites pour arriver donc, à ce résultat par l'adoption d'un projet de protocole. Et jusqu'à présent, ce protocole n'a pas encore été adopté. Donc, c'est le premier défi de notre groupe de travail. L'autre défi, c'est les disparitions forcées. Vous savez que ce groupe de travail, au départ, n'avait pas ce mandat. C'est par la suite que, par extension, on lui a confié cette notion de disparition forcée. Cette notion n'est pas spécifique, n'est pas traitée spécifiquement dans la Charte africaine des droits de l'homme. Donc, je ne peux pas dire que c'est une question nouvelle, puisque la Commission a eu à traiter des questions similaires. Mais dans la Charte, il n'existe pas une disposition spécifique. Et sur le terrain, on s'est rendu compte que ce phénomène commençait à prendre de l'ampleur. Il faudrait nécessairement faire quelque chose. C'est ainsi que moi, dès que j'ai pris la présidence, je me suis attelé à ce chantier. Et mon objectif est d'arriver à faire adopter des lignes directrices sur les disparitions forcées. Et même, pourquoi pas, aboutir un jour à un protocole également, à un instrument juridique contraignant sur les disparitions forcées. Nous sommes en train d'y travailler avec beaucoup de partenaires et nous espérons qu'à la prochaine session ordinaire, nous pourrons soumettre en plénière à la Commission des lignes directrices sur les disparitions forcées. Donc, c'est en quelque sorte mon plus grand chantier. Au-delà de ça, je suis membre du comité contre la torture. Naturellement, compte tenu de mon profil, les questions de détention m'intéressent beaucoup et donc j'ai intégré ce comité contre la torture. Je suis également membre du comité de travail sur les droits économiques, sociaux et culturels, présidé par mon collègue Mudford Zachariah. Je suis également chargé des relations avec la Cour, c'est-à-dire quand des plaintes au niveau de la Commission devaient être transférées au niveau de la Cour africaine des droits de l'homme. Au-delà de ça, naturellement, comme nous tous, on nous a assigné des pays. Nous sommes rapporteurs de pays. Et effectivement, on m'a mis en charge 5 pays. Donc, le Mali, Sierra Leone, la République centrafricaine, l'Ouganda et la République sahraoui. Donc voilà en grosso modo, présentement, les mandats dont je dispose au niveau de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much to all the commissioners. I think that it's also brought to our attention, and we are aware that the commissioners, as mentioned, are sitting already in an extraordinary session. They've been sitting for quite a few hours already, so we really appreciate them making themselves available. We realize it had been a tiring and a long day for you. But perhaps one last question from my side, and that is just maybe your own reflections on this meeting that we're having, whether you think it's a useful exercise, and how you see, you know, the relationship you would like to have with civil society in the exercise of your mandate. Commissioner Mudford, if we could go back to you again for this last round of reflections, please.
Well, like my colleague, Commissioner Abomo had complained about at the beginning, I wasn't too sure also what this meeting was all about. So I was at sea. I couldn't understand, but since I got the invitation, I thought it would be bad manners if I were to say, why should I participate? But anyway, I had to come in and find out what it was all about. And but all the same, it's also good because it also gives me an idea of putting faces to names I've seen elsewhere. And then it also makes me realize the fact that there are a lot of other organizations, there are a lot of other individuals that are interested in the work of the Commission, which puts me in a position which makes me appreciate the fact that yes, much as the job that we have as a Commission is enormous, important, there are also other institutions which are there and which are readily available to provide us with the much needed expertise, support, and which also gives me comfort to realize the fact that, yes, there are other people indeed whom we can call upon for purposes of ensuring that our work as a Commission is supported. To me, the meeting, I think, is important, and I think it shouldn't be the first and last. It should be something which we should continue, and maybe at the next stage there should be other issues that we'll have to bring up so that at least we maybe even learn how we can synchronize our work for purposes of improving our work as well as your work. Because I think at the end of the day, our job is to ensure that we promote and protect human rights in Africa.
Thank you.
That's what I would say.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Mwandenga. I think that, you know, we appreciate your comments, and I I think, again, our apologies. I think if we were all physically together, we would have gotten you in the corridors, we would have explained to you, we would have had an easier opportunity. So we apologize that we did not fully inform you, but I think you're summarizing it correctly, that it's from a sense of common destiny, a sense of solidarity and awareness of the enormity of the task, that the NGOs really are enthusiastic about having new commissioners and wanting them to feel the sense of solidarity that the NGOs have with them. So thank you for your comments. Commissioner Abomo, any comments from your side just about the sense of, you know, also working with civil society and this meeting, please?
Bon, merci. Avant toute chose, je voudrais rappeler que je m'appelle Marie-Louise Abomo. Je tiens à ce que cela soit bien entendu. Je ne m'appelle pas Abouma. Hein? Ce serait quand même la moindre des choses de faire l'effort de prononcer mon nom comme il faut. Il n'est pas si compliqué que ça. Cela dit, comme je l'ai dit au début, je pense que cette réunion ou cette plateforme qui est intéressante parce qu'effectivement, elle permet une prise de contact, j'allais dire direct, entre les commissaires et certains membres de la société civile, devrait être formalisée et prévue. Parce que bien que Monsieur le Président ait rappelé que l'article 45, alinéa 1, petit 3 de la Charte de la coopération, cet article ne dit pas comment est-ce que cet article n'inclut pas cette forme de plateforme-là. Donc, je pense que ça devrait être un peu plus formalisé et que à l'avenir, parce que vous avez dit c'est pour l'introduction des nouveaux commissaires, et à l'avenir que les nouveaux commissaires soient prévenus que effectivement, en marge des sessions ordinaires de la commission où ils vont être installés, il y aura telle autre manifestation aussi, que ça n'apparaisse pas comme une espèce de guet-apens ou d'embuscade. Bon, vous savez, c'est ma déformation de juge pénal hein, qui me fait utiliser ce vocabulaire-là. Cela dit, je trouve ça très intéressant. Je vous remercie parce que vous m'avez donné l'occasion hein, de commencer au niveau de l'Afrique ma campagne de plaidoyer pour le groupe de travail qui me tient le plus à cœur, qui est le groupe de travail sur les personnes âgées, parce que moi-même, je suis une personne âgée. Charité bien ordonnée commence par soi-même. Donc, je trouve cela très intéressant, mais je souhaiterais que ce soit plus formalisé. Je ne vous dis pas comment. Vous avez l'habitude, vous saurez comment faire ça. Et je suis d'accord avec monsieur le commissaire Mudford Mwandenga pour que que ça se reproduise, voilà. Que ce ne soit pas une seule réunion, qu'on ait plusieurs réunions au cours de nos mandats. Ça nous permet de voir où nous allons, de redresser, par exemple, peut-être ce qui ne va pas très bien et d'avoir d'autres idées dans l'échange là qui est fructueux. Voilà ce que je voulais dire et je vous remercie en insistant sur le fait que je suis Marie-Louise Abomo et pas Aboma. Merci.
Thank you very much, Justice Commissioner Abomo. Marie-Louise, I think part of it is knowing each other, but also knowing each other's names. So thank you very much for pointing that out. I think most of us will remember that after today. And thank you also for making suggestions about formalizing the engagement between civil society and the commissioners. I think those are very brilliant ideas. Let us move to Commissioner Alexia Amesbury for her reflections also on this question. Thank you.
First of all, I'm very grateful for the organizers of the present virtual meeting. It's very, very important for us to realize that without NGOs who are stakeholders in the Commission or in Africa, our work will not be as effective or as fruitful. Civil societies represent views that may not always be heard, a different perspective on key issues which affect our work. It is important to engage with other stakeholders and NGOs, and through this connection with the stakeholders that the Commission can achieve its objectives. And a lot of the expertise, a lot of the studies, a lot of the litigation that are the parties, especially for the indigenous people or the persons that cannot afford it, the NGOs take the fight forward. Without NGOs present to help the work of the Commission, it wouldn't be so visible. It wouldn't be so effective. It would not be so well published. So I'm very grateful, and I realize the importance of the contributions and the work of the NGOs, and I hope that this is not just a one-off incident or event, that we will have a few more so that we can explore other ways that we can mutually assist each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let me just also note that in the chat function, in the chat box, many of the people present had indicated their names, if the commissioners also would want to look through that, but also a number of questions have been posed. However, I think our time unfortunately does not really allow for that. And the questions are sometimes quite specific, questions that maybe you'll encounter as you move through your mandates, but it would be interesting for us all to note the very interesting questions posed in the chat box and to see the names. I go then lastly to Commissioner Ndiamé Gaye for also just reflecting on the role of civil society and on this event. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Bien, je vous remercie beaucoup. C'est un très grand plaisir de vous rencontrer, donc de participer à cette réunion, parce que chaque rencontre avec une plateforme d'ONG est toujours une très grande opportunité pour nous, parce que nous connaissons le rôle important des ONG dans la cause des droits de l'homme. Et ce n'est pas pour rien qu'au niveau de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme, nous incitons à agréer les ONG parce que aucun de nos mécanismes ne fonctionne sans la participation des ONG. Je voudrais vous marquer toute ma disponibilité pour travailler avec les ONG, notamment pour les mandats qui m'ont été confiés. Et je vous remercie beaucoup. Je crois que ma collègue Alexia a véritablement bien parlé concernant les relations et votre grande contribution par rapport au travail quotidien que nous faisons. Et je vous remercie beaucoup.
Thank you again to all for the new commissioners. Well, the English saying I quoted at the beginning says that a new brooms sweep clean, but it also says that the old brooms know the corners. And I think that means that the ones who already are in the system, they are the ones with the experience, and they may know very well how things get to be done and how things should be done. And it's for this reason that we're very, very fortunate also to have the Vice Chair with us, Commissioner Rémy Lumbu. He has really been instrumental in making this event happen. We thank you very much, Commissioner Lumbu, for your consistent support to all of us, to civil society generally, for your hard work in the Commission, and also for your assistance to reaching out to the other new commissioners, and for being here with us despite the very hard and long day that you went through and the fact that it is a late Friday afternoon. So thank you so much, and we certainly would want to leave the last word to you, so you could just make a few concluding reflections and close the meeting for us, please.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Frans. J'ai suivi mes collègues avec beaucoup d'intérêt. J'ai suivi également les questions des participants avec beaucoup d'intérêt et vous-même, que ce soit les membres d'ACHPR de Synergia. Comme vous l'avez dit au début et à la fin, je suis un peu comme un ancien balai ici. Et je connais tous les coins de l'Afrique aujourd'hui. Et je sais en tant que balai où aller, ou partout où enlever les saletés. Et je suis simplement content que mes 4 collègues commissaires qui sont arrivés, si on peut le considérer aussi comme de balais, ils balayent bien que moi. Ils balayent bien que moi parce qu'ils ont encore des fibres qui sont assez plus fortes. Mais vous avez remarqué que la commission s'est améliorée. Elle n'a pas perdu en termes de qualité parce que le nouveau magistrat qui arrive et le nouveau commissaire qui arrive, vous avez parmi eux 2 magistrats et 2 avocats qui ont des connaissances, en tout cas les plus poussées en matière de droits de l'homme aussi sur le continent. Comme eux, lorsque j'arrivais à la commission, j'avais un peu quelques connaissances aussi sur la commission, plus ou moins jusqu'à mon niveau, mais c'est quand on arrive à la commission qu'on connaît véritablement ce qu'elle est et ce qu'elle vaut et son importance au niveau de l'Afrique. L'ignorance de la commission, c'est une notion que nous partageons dans la grande majorité des 1,3 milliard d'Africains que nous sommes ou des 1,4 milliard d'Africains. Et cette ignorance est tellement grande qu'elle loge même au niveau de nos institutions, au niveau de nos ministères des Affaires étrangères, des offices des chefs d'État. Il y a des gens qui ignorent encore ce qu'est la commission et on la confond avec la commission de l'Union africaine. On confond les commissaires de Banjul avec les commissaires d'Addis Abeba, ceux qui travaillent à la commission de l'Union africaine. Ce qui prouve encore que lorsque la charte dit que nous avons le mandat de promotion et de protection des droits de l'homme, nous avons beaucoup à faire. Et cette promotion n'est possible que lorsque nous collaborons aussi avec les ONG, parce que c'est finalement les ONG qui constituent nos bras les plus longs, parce qu'ils vont un peu dans les petits recoins de l'Afrique pour pouvoir balayer et faire le travail qu'on attend de nous. J'ai beaucoup aimé les conclusions de mes collègues qui se sont tous présentés, avec chacun un background assez important. Il y a beaucoup de choses que j'ai aussi appris, ne vous en faites pas. Les collègues ont déployé leur CV, il y a des choses que je ne connaissais pas, mais je me rends compte qu'au moins nous avons la chance de bénéficier des gens aussi riches en expérience en matière de droits de l'homme. Et je voudrais que vous fassiez quelque chose de très important. L'union est importante, moi également, je dis la même chose parce que, comme vous le savez, depuis que moi je suis arrivé dans cette commission en 2017, mon engagement vis-à-vis de la société civile ne fait l'ombre d'aucun doute. Je suis toujours présent aux réunions, quelle que soit la qualité des réunions que la société civile convoque. Je suis toujours là pour pouvoir interagir avec elle parce que je pense finalement que c'est avec elle qu'il faut beaucoup travailler pour la promotion des droits de l'homme et même pour la protection des droits de l'homme. Vous avez vu les collègues parler, 2 collègues invoquer les questions d'accès à la justice. Cet accès à la justice pose aussi problème lorsqu'on arrive au niveau de la commission. Beaucoup de gens ne savent pas comment s'engager avec nous. Ils ont offert leur disponibilité pour l'avenir. Moi aussi, j'offre ma disponibilité comme d'habitude. Et vous pouvez interagir avec chacun des commissaires dans les mandats qui les concernent parce qu'ils ont présenté leur mandat et leurs défis. Essayez d'imaginer qu'est-ce que vous pouvez apporter comme appui, comme concours à leurs mandats respectifs parce qu'ils ont beaucoup de défis. Les chantiers sont énormes. Nous ne parviendrons jamais à tout faire avec les moyens qui sont mis à notre disposition, moyens en termes de ressources humaines et moyens en termes avec les commissaires que nous devons poursuivre. Réunion intéressante, réunion importante, disponibilité pour l'avenir. La collègue Marie-Louise Abomo a parlé d'une formalisation qu'il faut, mais je lui expliquerai après comment nous engageons avec les ONG. Il n'y a pas tellement beaucoup de formalités. Dès lors qu'une ONG a le statut d'observateur auprès de chez nous, elle peut s'engager avec nous dans différentes activités conjointes que nous menons. Je crois que les choses sont assez ouvertes à ce niveau-là. Dès qu'une ONG a ce statut d'observateur, elle peut solliciter des activités conjointes avec nous. Nous pouvons la solliciter pour qu'elle puisse nous appuyer dans un ou un autre domaine Et c'est ensemble, en travaillant avec cette société civile, que nous espérons que le mandat qui nous a été confié à l'article 45 de la Charte africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples arrivera à un succès. Merci beaucoup, Frans. Merci à tous les autres amis. N'hésitez pas à nous contacter s'il y a encore des rencontres sur d'autres activités de mort que prend le collègue Ndiamé ou sur les personnes du troisième âge, selon le mandat qui a été confié à ma collègue Alexia à Amesbury, ou bien sur les défenseurs des droits de l'homme. Nous sommes toujours à votre disposition pour qu'ensemble, nous puissions aider notre Afrique, notre mère Afrique, à se porter mieux en matière de droits de l'homme. C'est ça le mot de la conclusion que je voudrais apporter. Je vous souhaite à tous une excellente soirée. Moi, je ne lève pas la réunion. C'est vous, les organisateurs, qui allez nous remercier pour que nous puissions aller chez nous. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Lumbu, and for those kind words and encouragement. And again, thank you so much for facilitating this event and staying with us at this late hour on a Friday. And that applies to everyone who came to listen and came to get to know the 4 commissioners. We thank everyone who took their Friday afternoon to come to the sitting room that we wanted to present so that we could sit back and listen and get to know our new friends, the 4 commissioners. We appreciate their presence, their frank comments, and we can just pledge our commitment to advance the work collectively of the African Commission. I thank, in the name of the organizers, which is Synergia, ACHPR, the Center for Human Rights, and also ISLA, the Initiative for Strategic Litigation in Africa. We thank everyone who made this possible, the technicians and everyone behind the scenes. Thanks to everyone. I think it was really a very meaningful event. We really appreciate, and we wish you all a good Friday afternoon and weekend. Thank you so much and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.